If someone would have told you before this pandemic started that Americans could have 140,000 people killed, 140,000 citizens killed, and failed to respond, would you have believed them? From my perspective as a Muslim, it fills me with anger and sorrow, because we saw when up to 4,000 Americans were killed in 9/11, we spent billions of dollars invading two Muslim countries, killing thousands upon thousands of people. When we started the war on terror, our government told us that the life of any American is sacrosanct, and that if these Muslims murder a single American, we have the right to wage an open war to protect ourselves against the terrorists. And billions of dollars were spent to wage this war. At least since 9/11, the Islamophobes have been beating the drums over and over. Muslims are dangerous because they could kill Americans. And because of that danger, we are justified in spending billions and billions of dollars arming ourselves, training ourselves, invading countries all around the world, maintaining military bases all around the world, applying black ops operations all around the world. But yet, in this pandemic, we don't see anything coming close to what we spend on war being spent to defend Americans from an imminent, present enemy. Or is it that the coronavirus must be Muslim before we react? It doesn't seem to matter that thousands of Americans are dying. We did not institute the type of effective policies that were instituted by New Zealand, for instance. We didn't even come close to what Britain did. We even fail when compared to Italy and Spain. We fail miserably even when compared to Australia, leave alone Canada. When you compare the type of resources spent by countries like New Zealand, Canada, Australia, England, leave alone most European countries, but even China, when compared to the resources that China spent in fighting the virus to what we've done, we're a miserable failure. So how am I supposed to take it when since 2001 I've watched thousands of Muslims being slaughtered and killed, And I'm told that what justifies killing all these Muslims is the enormity of loss in 9/11. But then in 2020, as I see over 140,000 Americans killed, and yes, believe me, it's a matter of resources. If we spent the resources that New Zealand or Australia or Canada spent in fighting this pandemic, 140,000 Americans would not have died. It amazes me that in the country of human rights, that we have 70,000 infections a day. Just yesterday it was 70,000. And people are so casually talking about sending children back to school. Are you saying that we value human life so little that we're willing to risk the lives of our children just so that the economy can make the rich richer? What type of America? What type of America do we want? But most importantly, Muslims must understand that from an Islamic perspective, to treat a pandemic as you are on your own. If you get sick, well, hard luck, you're on your own, is thoroughly un-Islamic. Let me be very clear. When the Prophet ﷺ, he didn't just teach us that if you are in a town and there's a plague or a pandemic, neither enter this town or leave this town. But when a man who was ill with a highly infectious disease wanted to have an audience with the Prophet to give him his bay'ah, the Prophet promptly ordered this man to return back home and said, قَدْ بَايَعْنَاكَ. In other words, I took your oath of allegiance remotely, remote distance, via Skype of their time. But go back home. Your place is home. Understand that as a Muslim, if you knowingly or negligently cause the infection of others so that you have reason to believe that you are carrying corona, or through your misconduct because you were negligent when you were not supposed to be negligent. So in other words, you didn't care about wearing the mask. You didn't maintain safe distances. You went around shaking hands or playing basketball or playing soccer and didn't take the necessary protective measures. And through your negligent behavior, you caused others to be infected. In Sharia, this is an assault. Whether intentional assault or non-intentional would define how much sin you incur. But rest assured, it is sin. Just because in fact, as a Muslim, everything in your religion, our religion is the only religion that clearly instructed that if there is a pond that animals graze from, animals drink from that pond, you are not allowed to urinate in this pond. But only animals drink from the pond still. That's what our religion taught. You can't urinate. It is a sin to urinate where other human beings bathe or where animals graze. Ours is the only religion that said you don't have the right to contaminate water. You don't have the right to ignore the rights of others. So can you imagine what type of obligations are upon you as a Muslim in a pandemic? You don't have the right, with 140,000 dead in the US alone and 500,000 around the world, to say, oh, I don't worry about it, let Allah worry about it. No, you worry about it, because that is your responsibility. And Allah will ask you when you meet Allah about whether you discharged your obligations. But this is about our duties as a Muslim, but also as citizens, as Muslims who are citizens. The failure of our government, and I don't care whether Republican or Democrat, that's not what I'm talking about. The failure of our government to protect its citizens, to invest the type of resources, the hypocrisy of our government on sending thousands of young kids to be killed or wounded or scarred for life, leave alone to murder our Muslim compatriots around the world under the guise of fighting terrorism. Well, how about fighting the terrorism of a virus? Isn't that virus causing terror? To insist on the market standards and the values of the liberal free market in an age of pandemic is thoroughly classist and racist. Thoroughly racist. The response to this pandemic, if we are posing the right type of questions, the answers that come back are terrifying about the ailment of our American society. What ails our American society? I pray from all my heart that people wake up, because when human beings are devalued to that extent, when human beings are devalued to the extent that 70,000 can be infected, or 60, 70,000, 50,000, whatever, infected every day, and hundreds of people killed every day, and life just goes on, it devalues all of us as citizens of this country.